From the dawn of time we have looked beyond, wondering, dreaming of what lay outside our grasp. We grew across vast landscapes and took one small step, first to the moon, then we looked to Mars. We built a space station, but still we wondered what lay beyond. Now it's time for a courageous group of men and women, led by the best of the best that mankind has to offer. We now seek to take that one small step and turn it into one giant leap. We are ready to take on new challenges as our quest to the outer reaches of space continues. What answers will we find on our quest? Our quest to discover the galaxy.
Hi and welcome to this episode of Discover the Galaxy. I'm your host, Jason Ross. On this episode, we're going to start out by looking at the history of the Space Shuttle program that got us to where we are today. After that, we're going to go up to the International Space Station and look at how you wash your hair in zero gravity and how you actually take coffee from yesterday, you pass water, and that urine becomes tomorrow's drinking water and coffee again. That's recycling at its utmost, don't you agree? And then to finish off on, we're going to look at the asteroid collision program of NASA. How you can help by scanning the universe to see where those impending asteroids of doom are. We intend to land on an asteroid, take samples, learn more about them, and also to actually wrap one in like a helium balloon and drag it off to save us from all kinds of impending peril. Anyway, without further ado, let's get underway. I'm Jason Ross. Let's discover the galaxy.
LPS is go.
Houston flight is go. SRO is go. You have a range clear to launch. And CDR is go.
NASA's Space Shuttle program, officially called the Space Transportation System, was the United States manned launch vehicle that operated from 1981 to 2011. The winged Space Shuttle orbiter was launched vertically, usually carrying 7 astronauts and up to 22,000 kilograms of payload. What made the Space Shuttle program unique is that it was the only winged spacecraft to have achieved orbit and then come back to land again. It's also the only reusable manned space vehicle that has ever made multiple flights into orbit. Its missions usually involve carrying large payloads up to the International Space Station, providing crew rotation, and also for performing service missions. The orbiter also recovered several satellites from orbit and returned them to Earth, though its use in its capacity was rare. Each vehicle was designed with a projected lifespan of 100 launches or 10 years operational life, though the original selling point of the Space Shuttle was over 150 launches and 15-year lifespan. The program formally commenced in 1972 after the end of the Apollo missions. It wasn't until the 1980s that it eventually got up and running, and in 2004, according to President George W. Bush, the use of the Space Shuttle was to be focused almost exclusively on completing the International Space Station, which at that time was well and truly behind schedule. Retirement of the Space Shuttle ended the era in which all Americans' varied space activities were performed by one craft or one organisation. The functions performed by the Space Shuttles for 30 years will not be done by one, but by many different spacecraft going into the future. Of the 5 space shuttles that were built, only 3 remain. The Enterprise, which was used for atmospheric test flights but not orbital flight, has had most of its parts used on the other orbiters. What remains is on display at the National Air and Space Museum. The Space Shuttle Enterprise was moved to New York City in April 2012. Meanwhile, the Discovery replaced the Enterprise at the National Air and Space Museum. The Space Shuttle Atlantis, which forms part of the Space Shuttle exhibit at the Kennedy Space Center, is on display for visitors and has been there since June 29, 2013. Finally, the Space Shuttle Endeavour, which completed an unprecedented 19-kilometre drive through the streets of Los Angeles, is now on display at the California Science Center for all to see. The final Space Shuttle launch was that of Atlantis on July 8, 2011. No matter what you think, the Space Shuttle program contributed a great amount to science, astrophysics, and to all of mankind in terms of our spirit of adventure.
Welcome back. Next up, we're going to head up to the International Space Station and answer some of the immortal questions I know many of you have asked. How do you go to the toilet in space? Did you know that they recycle their own urine as drinking water? Yesterday's coffee is tomorrow's coffee. And more importantly for the ladies out there, how do you wash your hair in zero gravity? Let's head up to the space station and answer this and other vitally important questions.
Hi there. I've had a lot of people ask me how I wash my hair in space, and I thought I'd show you how I do it. Let's see. To get started, these are the things I need. A bag of warm water, a little no-rinse shampoo, towel, and my comb. What I like to do is start by just putting some hot water, squirting it onto my scalp, and I have a mirror here so I can kind of watch what I'm doing. Sometimes the water gets away from you, and you try and catch as much as you can. Then I just work the water up through to the ends of my hair. Then I take my no-rinse shampoo and squirt it also on the scalp, just a little bit, and rub it in. Again, kind of working it out to the ends. And sometimes I'll actually take my comb to help work it all the way to the ends. And I like to take my towel while I have the shampoo in there and just kind of work it. Because without standing under running water, you kind of need to use the towel a little bit to help get some of the dirt out. I like to follow that by a little more water. It's called no-rinse shampoo, but I think it's best if you use a little water with it. It actually feels kind of squeaky clean right now. Now I'll take the dry part of my towel. We use towels for quite a while here, since we have limited supplies. We use them wisely. There, I think that's pretty good. And now as my hair dries, as the water evaporates from my hair, it will become humidity in the air, and then our air conditioning system will collect that into condensate, and it won't be long, and our water processing system will turn that into drinking water. At the end, I just do one final comb through to make sure there are no snarls and snags, and while it dries, I like to let it stay free. I don't put it back in a ponytail while it's drying. And that is how I wash my hair in space on the International Space Station.
Hi, I am Koichi Wakata of the ISS Expedition 38. I am in Node 3 of the International Space Station. On board the ISS, we recycle water, and here in Node 3, the key component, the water recovery system, is located behind those panels. The water recovery system recycles urine and washing water used by the onboard astronauts and cosmonauts to provide potable water supply. Water is initially reclaimed from urine using distillation. This process takes place in a rotating distillation unit that compensates for the station's absence of gravity, facilitating the separation of liquids and gases in zero-G environment. After the distillation phase, this water is combined with the other wastewater streams and enters the water processor assembly for treatment. Here, free gas and solids such as hair are removed from the wastewater before the flow enters a series of filter units. Subsequently, any remaining microorganisms, organic inclusions, or other contaminants are removed by high-temperature catalysis. The resulting water meets the highest standards for potable use. It tastes really good. Here on board the ISS, we turned yesterday's coffee into tomorrow's coffee.
Hi, Chris Hadfield here aboard the International Space Station. We keep busy on board the space station. Long days, lots of work, physical exercise. At the end of it, you're tired. But how do you sleep in space? In order to make it comfortable for the astronauts, originally they were going to put us all in one habitation module with sleep stations all around it. But the way a station was eventually built, we have sleep stations inside Node 2, which is in the forward part of the station, and inside the service module, which is in the aft. A total of 6 small bedrooms, sleep stations, or sleep pods. And inside each one is just a sleeping bag tied to the wall. You might think it's uncomfortable not having a mattress and a pillow, but without gravity, of course, you don't need anything to hold you up. You can just completely relax. And you don't even need a pillow. In space, you don't even have to hold your head up. So you can relax every muscle in your body, and your arms float up in front of you. Your head tips forward. But before I go to sleep, I gotta put on my pajamas, because I have space jammies. I'll be right back. Great. I'm in my super comfy Russian full-length pajamas. Nice for when you have to get up in the middle of the night, and ready to go to bed. I'll show you where I sleep. This is my sleep station, my sleep pod. This is where I spend up to 8 hours every day, here on board the space station. It's actually on the floor, but once you're inside, you just can't tell.
Okay, for all you fitness freaks out there, it's time to join Mike Hopkins as he teaches us what's required as an astronaut in terms of fitness here on Earth, as well as up in the space station, how do they exercise in zero gravity. You know, many of the astronauts lose a lot of body mass as a result of being in that kind of a zero gravity atmosphere. So let's join him and learn how to train like Mike.
Few short months, I'm going to be launching to the International Space Station as a member of Expeditions 37 and 38. But before I do that, I'd like to talk to you about physical fitness and how we get ourselves ready physically for a long-duration space flight. Now, the good news is there's nothing magic about the exercises or the fitness programs that we use. In fact, you'll see many of these exercises performed in gyms all across the country, and you can even do them in your own home. I'm really excited for you to join me up on the space station for the next 6 months. And so our team is actually going to post updates on Facebook. We're going to show you my actual workouts. We're going to give you video clips and possibly some little motivational cheer from the team and all that. But I'd also like you to share your data with us, your workouts with us, maybe pictures, video as well. And thanks for joining me and training like an astronaut. Hi everyone, this is Mike Hopkins, astronaut with NASA, coming to you from the Countermeasures Training Room here at NASA JSC. And today, or this morning, I want to talk to you a little bit about the treadmill that we use when we're up on orbit. Now, you may look at it and it seems very similar to the treadmills you use at home, but there are a lot of differences with this treadmill, particularly in how we're able to use it. But we also have an vibration isolation system with this treadmill, and what that does is, as we're running, it keeps those vibrations as we pound on the treadmill from being transferred to the space station itself. And that's actually pretty important because here on Earth, when you run, you've got a great damping system called Earth, but we don't have that up in space, and so we need to make sure that we're not impacting the station while we're working out. One of the other major differences with the treadmill is that we have to use a harness, much like a backpacking harness that you have when you go hiking. And so what we use this for is to help hold us down on the treadmill, because remember, when we're in space, we're floating around, and so it's hard to stay down on the track. So we put this little harness on, and then we have to strap ourselves to the treadmill. So once we get strapped in with the harness and the bungees, we have a computer that we actually use that has different workouts on it. And the neat thing about this as well is, not only does it have our workout on it so we can change the speed and whether we're doing interval workouts or longer distance, but while we're working out, it'll actually record our heart rate, it'll record the force that the bungees are pulling down, it'll record our footfalls, and so then on the ground we can actually use that, analyze it, and see how I'm doing on my workouts. And so when we're ready to go, all we have to do is hit the start button, and away we go. So that gives you a little sense of how we get to use the treadmill up on orbit. I've done a lot of training with it down here, but I sure can't wait to use it when I get up there.
Okay, to finish our program today, we're going to look at how NASA's going to save us from an asteroid collision. They've actually got a program in place that's going to capture an asteroid with a gigantic balloon and carry it off into outer space to save us. Secondly, they want to land on an asteroid, which is even more ambitious, take samples and see what we can learn so we know how to avoid such collisions in the future. And finally, they're going to ask you how you can contribute to look into outer space and see where these asteroids are so you could be the one who saves us from impending doom, or the one who causes it. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the program, shall we?
The night sky is a beautiful thing, filled with galaxies, stars, planets, and asteroids. Unlike those other celestial objects, asteroids like to swing by for a visit from time to time. The problem is when they get a little too friendly and crash right into us. But don't worry, there aren't any impending threats we know about. Our solar system has millions of asteroids. We've discovered many of them, but our challenge is to find the rest and learn more about them. Why should you care? Well, just last year, a nearly 20-meter asteroid exploded over Russia with a force of 500,000 tons of TNT, and it was completely undetected before entering the atmosphere. The dinosaurs would have cared if they knew about this problem. Let's be smarter than them. This is why, in June 2013, NASA announced the Asteroid Grand Challenge, with the goal to find all asteroid threats to human populations and know what to do about them. This is a broad call to action, seeking new and innovative ideas to enhance and accelerate the work NASA and its partners are already doing for planetary defense. It's not something NASA can do alone. That's where you come in. Asteroid hunting is an activity everyone can get involved with. Whether it's writing computer code, building hardware, making observations through a telescope, writing a story, or even sharing this video with others to spread the word, you can make a difference and help protect our planet from asteroid impacts. Here's a breakdown of the work we need to meet the challenge. Detect. We have to find these objects if we're going to do anything about them. Track. Once detected, we have to get at least 3 different measurements, ideally more, to determine the object's orbit. These measurements have to happen quickly, as the asteroids only swing by Earth for a short time on their way around the Sun. Characterize. Once we know an asteroid's orbit, we need to learn more about it. Knowing its size, shape, and composition teaches us about the building blocks of our universe, and might help us determine if the asteroid will be a threat to humans. Mitigate. We also have to study mitigation solutions so that if we find a threatening asteroid, we know how to prevent an impact.
NASA's bold plan to drag an asteroid into orbit around the moon may sound like science fiction, but it's achievable with current technology. President Obama has put $100 million aside for NASA to jumpstart an asteroid capture mission. This would involve grabbing a 23-foot wide space rock and putting it in a stable lunar orbit where we could study the asteroid and gain scientific knowledge. While challenging, the mission is definitely doable. Why would we want to grab an asteroid and put it in the moon's orbit? Well, asteroids give us the best idea of what happened to our solar system and how it took shape more than 4.5 billion years ago. Asteroids represent samples of the earliest matter that was made available to forming our solar system and to our Earth. We learned a lot about the moon by analysing moon rocks, and the same system would apply to each one of these asteroids.
That's all we have time for on this episode of Discover the Galaxy. On next week's program, we're going to look at mankind's mission to Mars. We intend to set foot there in the next 30 years, in addition to which we've already been there with the rover mission. So don't miss it next week as we learn about the Red Planet, what we know, what we're going to know, and how we're going to get mankind to set foot on there. Until next week, I'm Jason Ross. Bye for now.